Okay, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and I have the Honor MagicBook Pro 14, a laptop that you probably can't buy if you're in North America. Here I'm in the United States. I had to import this from China, and I was intrigued by this when I saw this being announced, I think back at MWC or whatever it was, by Honor, which was, I guess, a spin-off company that is independent now from Huawei, running Intel's Arrow Lake H processor. This is the Core Ultra 9 285H, so it's got some pretty good power in a very thin and light chassis. Of course, this is a really, really nice color. I think this is the gray color. I forget what they call it, but you could also get it in white and I think in a greenish color, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But, you know, in Asia, the market's a little bit different. So this laptop's a little bit different in a lot of ways. What we have is a really high-end 3:2 aspect ratio display, 14.6-inch display, I believe. I'll double check that. I'll put the specs on the screen, of course, but this has a high resolution, right? So 3:2 aspect ratio, 120 hertz. It is a touchscreen display. It has a peak brightness of 700 nits. And that is incredible, especially with HDR. It's a standard dynamic range over 500 nits is what I measured. It's got a pretty nice keyboard on here, a nice precision touchpad, an all-metal design, two upgradable SSDs on this, M.2 2280, which are fast, and it has really good or decent I/O, although there is one big omission that I think makes this a little bit suspect in some ways. But overall, this has been an incredible laptop. We're going to check out battery life. We're going to check out performance, how to buy it here in the United States, and of course, everything else I normally talk about. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the Honor MagicBook Pro 14, brand new for 2025. Coming up. We're going to start off with the display today because I think this is the star of the show. One of the things that I wanted to really get this because of this display. It is probably one of the best, if not the best displays I've seen in a very long time. Now, it is a 10-point multi-touch display. It has 120 hertz refresh rate. It's a variable refresh rate. It has excellent brightness. It can get as bright as 700 nits in peak brightness. Standard dynamic range, I'm looking at around 500 plus nits. So it's been great. Excellent coverage of the color gamut. It is color accurate. It is a spectacular display. So you're getting that bright display. Now, not only is it a bright display, but it also has a pretty decent anti-reflective coating on it, although you can probably see some glare in some of the shots, but a pretty decent job there in terms of that. But because it gets so bright, it's not much of an issue. Very minimal screen wobble when typing, so that's been very good. The screen goes back about 150 degrees, as you see here, so not quite 180 degrees, but definitely gives you a great viewing angle. The hinges on here are really good. Like I said, minimal screen wobble. There is a 1080p camera on here. It is not IR, so just keep that in mind. But there is a fingerprint scanner on the keyboard that doubles. The power button doubles as a fingerprint scanner. It's a little bit recessed, so you don't have any accidental presses, but overall it's been pretty good. Let's talk about the keyboard here. Pretty good tactility, 1.5 millimeters of key travel. Overall feedback is very good. I'm actually really liking it. Pretty good layout in terms of the keyboard. You have the Copilot key here for those that want to do some AI stuff. And you also have a pretty nicely sized trackpad here. It's not a haptic or anything like that. It is a glass touchpad, but that's been pretty good as well. Would have liked to have seen haptic, but that's the case here. You don't get it. Now, as far as weight is concerned, this comes in at around 1.4 kilograms. This, of course, is the touch option display here. And when you put it into pounds, it's a little bit over 3 pounds, so it's pretty travel friendly. And the 100-watt supercharge adapter along with USB-C cable comes in at 1.67 kilograms, and that's about 3 pounds, 11 ounces or so. So a pretty travel friendly package considering what this is packing under the hood. All right, let's check out the port selection. On the left side is an HDMI 2.1 TMDS port, and then next to that are two USB Type-C ports. Unfortunately, they're not Thunderbolt, which is a bit disappointing, and that's one area where I think Honor cut some corners to save some money. Although they put in such a high-end, high-res display, they cut corners when it comes to these. However, they are full function, supporting data charge and display out. You also get a 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack. And moving over to the right side, you get two USB Type-A ports, so a nice blend between some modern ports, some legacy ports. Unfortunately, there's no SD card reader, so just keep that in mind. That would have been great. Overall, a decent port selection. The biggest omission here is the lack of Thunderbolt support here, so that is the big one here, and I think they missed the boat here, especially on such a great laptop with such a great display. They could have got a home run here if they used Thunderbolt 4 ports. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Now, I really like the fact that Honor makes it pretty easy to get inside this laptop. Just remove the 10 T5 Torx screws from the bottom plate and pop it off with a guitar pick or a spudger, pry tool, and you are in. It's that simple. And once inside, you'll notice that pretty large 92 watt-hour battery. You'll notice the pretty large dual fans. We'll get into the thermals and battery life later as well. And you'll notice that M.2 2280 full-size SSD and the 1 terabyte on my review unit has some very excellent reads and writes. Certainly fast enough what you need this laptop to do. Now, please note that that 1 terabyte did come partitioned into a C&D drive on my particular unit that I purchased. And like pretty much all laptops here in 2025, the RAM is not upgradable by the user. It's integrated onto the motherboard here and runs at the very fast 8400 megatransfers per second. Of course, this one has 32 gigabytes of memory. You could also get it with either 16, 24, and of course the 32 that we have here. Now, one area where they cut some corners is in the Wi-Fi card. Now, unfortunately, this unit only has Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.1, and that combo card is soldered into the motherboard, not upgradable by the user, so it's not as future-proof as I'd like it. So there's another area where Honor cut some corners. Okay, let's talk performance here, and this is running Intel's Arrow Lake H processor, the Intel Core Ultra 9 285H, the same processor we saw on the Asus ZenBook Duo that I just recently reviewed. I'll leave a link for those that didn't see it. But this MagicBook has very good single and multi-core performance as indicated by the Geekbench 6 results, as well as the Cinebench 2024 results. Very good single and multi-core, 124 and 1001. That is really, really good performance here, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to look for a thin and light laptop that has good performance or even great performance, this is the one to look at. And I didn't see a huge difference when it was on battery versus when it was plugged in. As you can see, very similar single core results, a little bit better multi-core, but not a huge difference when plugged in. And this is going to be good for everyday tasks, no doubt about it, but it also has very good integrated graphics with the Intel Arc 140T, which is going to give you very good results here, as you can see from the TimeSpy, Firestrike, and Wildlife Extreme scores, which means that this is going to be very capable for doing some light 4K video editing and, of course, 1080p video editing in Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve. Now, when it comes to gaming, as you can see, if you lower some of the settings, you can get some playable frame rates on some of the more popular titles, which is quite impressive given that this does not have a dedicated GPU. This integrated solution is very capable. And with regards to video editing, I did run the Puget Bench DaVinci Resolve benchmark, and the MagicBook Pro 14 had a very impressive score, beating out something like the Intel Arc 140V graphics on the Surface Pro, but it didn't do quite as well as the Asus ROG Flow Z13 with its impressive Radeon 8060S graphics on that APU, and then of course not quite as good as the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 found on the Asus ROG Zephyrus G16. And great news, when I ran the TimeSpy stress test to see if this will thermal throttle under heavy load, it got a passing score of 99.8%, meaning it detected virtually no thermal throttling under load. And that's a good result. And the surface temperatures remained relatively cool under load as well. Notice that the keyboard never gets overly hot, so where you place your fingers, even under heavy load, remains comfortable for typing. That's a very good thing here. And the underside never got overly hot. There was no particular hot spot to worry about. You know, you see by the heating vents, of course, that's where it's going to get the warmest, which is to be expected, but on the bottom itself, stayed relatively cool. And as far as the fan noise is concerned, when you're pushing this under maximum load, it never got above 45, maybe 46 decibels, which considering how much power this is packing under the hood, I think that's a really good result here. Keeping it cool and quiet was the name of the game, and I think for the most part, Honor really achieved this. All right, let's talk battery life here. And this sports a really large 92 watt hour battery for a 14-inch laptop. That's on the big side here. So, of course, we're seeing pretty decent results considering how high-end, high-resolution display we have here. 11 hours and 27 minutes on the PC Mark 10 video playback, 10 hours and 40 minutes of that mixed use test, the modern office test, and a little bit over 2 hours on the full maximum gaming test. So, as you can see, for the fact that it does have a high refresh rate, high resolution display, OLED, this is definitely a decent result. Remember, OLED just tends to draw more power, so expect less battery life than an IPS option. Now, they also include a 100 watt super fast charge adapter in the box, and it does charge really rapidly. So that's been pretty impressive as well. Now, when it comes to the audio, this has stereo speakers, Nahimic audio, and it also has pretty good sound, right? So I did a live testing of this unit. I'll leave a link to the replay for those that didn't catch it, where I compared it to some other laptops. But I want you to be the judge. I want you to let me know what you think in the comment section below about the audio. So let's give it a listen. Now, as far as the webcam is concerned, I mentioned earlier that it is 1080p, but of course, I want you to be the judge of whether it's good or not. I think it is pretty good, but again, let's take a look at it and you let me know what you think in the comments section below. So this is the camera on the brand new Honor MagicBook Pro 14, which I imported here to the US. You can't buy it here, I guess, so that's a little bit disappointing because it's a really great laptop, although it's not perfect. We'll get into why, but this is a 1080p camera. It's not IR. You cannot log in with face recognition, but there is a fingerprint scanner as the power button doubles as the fingerprint scanner. What do you think about the video quality and what do you think about the audio quality? Let me know in the comment section below. The studio effects are here, so you have the background blur, all that stuff is here, and you can see it. Let me try the background blur. So this is the standard blur, and this is the portrait blur. Okay, so that works. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments section below. So overall, what do I think about the Honor MagicBook Pro 14? And I will say this, that it is a really great laptop. And I think without a doubt, the star has been this gorgeous display, touchscreen display, 120 hertz, extremely bright, excellent for HDR, watching movies, has been fantastic on this. Really good speakers, a really nice keyboard, very good performance, single multi-core, excellent, and of course, good integrated graphics with the Intel Arc 140T. The negatives here are going to be the lack of Thunderbolt ports on here. No SD card reader, by the way. And that's the worst parts of this. This is the biggest downside, is the lack of the Thunderbolt as far as I'm concerned. But other than that, oh, and availability here in the US, if you want to import this, it's going to cost you $1,500 all told. That's what I paid to import this via AliExpress. I'll leave a link for those that are interested. The other downside is, and again, I haven't really tested this, but it's theoretically maybe an issue, is if you have to service this, right? You have to send it back under warranty. You'd probably have to send it to China. And I'm not really sure how all that's going to play out. Of course, that's the risk you take of importing this kind of tech, right? So overall, everything has been great on this. Now, this came in Chinese, by the way, but the seller on AliExpress converted it to English. I now have Windows Pro on this as opposed to Windows Home Chinese. So that has been great. They were very good, by the way, as far as communicating all that and getting this through customs and all that. So that is the one positive in terms of importing it. The negatives, of course, is going to be the extra tax you pay on having to bring this over, the price you pay for having to import it. And again, service servicing this in terms of warranty or any kinds of issues you might have mechanically with this or anything like that might be an issue. But overall, I am absolutely loving this, and I can't wait to get in the Honor MagicBook Art with the Snapdragon processor, but it has some other high-end features that this one doesn't have. So we're gonna compare that when we get it in. That also comes in, I think, around a kilogram or less, so that's gonna be even great in terms of the portability. But although this is packing an Intel Arrow Lake H processor, it is thin and light nonetheless. Excellent job here by Honor. I just wish you can get this here in the United States.